On this page, I'm using a water-soluble graphite stick, and I'm going in with the watercolor brush and adding some water. This is the first layer for this page. I'll be using a monochrome color palette for both pages on this process. Here I'm using a China marker to make some marks, and I wanted to test out using a water resist with this because I hadn't done it before. So I'm just making some marks, and I'll go in with some of I think this is squash. So I'll be using it almost like it's watercolor, and I'll just spread it over to see if it'll make a resist. So when I added the gouache, it did make a resist, but not nearly as much as when I use other wax pastels. So I'll probably do another page to practice with that process. Okay, so here I'm adding more of the water-soluble graphite, except this time I dipped the graphite stick in water first and then made marks. And I'm making them a little more smudgy with the watercolor brush and water. On this page, I'm using a black marker to make some marks, and I'm going to be testing out to see if it will run or if I can get the ink to move. And now I'm using the same marker, but I turned it on its side so that I'm using basically the thinnest tip of the marker to add some marks to the top of the page. This is when I started to add the water to the marks, and you can see, well, I hope you can see that it did move a lot. I mean, it didn't take much of the water to get it to move whatsoever. I was really surprised how much it moved and how much it smeared once I added the water. I'm using the same marker on this page, and I'm using it to make a similar pattern all the way to the bottom of the page, and I continue to add the water with the watercolor brush to experiment with these marks. Now that I'm finished, I'm just gonna let these dry for a little while. Here you'll see that on the opposite side of the page, this is the first page that I made from the first video, and you can see how the ink seeped through. And this is the video that I did today, and you can see on the opposite side, once it dried, you could see the marks. Now this is not watercolor paper, but I will continue this process of working gently in my journal, and I hope that you like seeing these process, and I hope it gives you ideas of things that you can test out and things that you can do in your own sketchbooks and journals.